Equal Employment Opportunity, EEO and the law.
To guide you through the presentation, here's an overview of the topics we'll be covering. Audience is expected to understand the concept of employment discrimination and its impact on individuals and organizations. Differentiate between equal employment opportunity, EEO, and affirmative action and identify the groups protected under EEO laws. Examine key Philippine labor laws and acts that promote equality, fairness, and protection in the workplace. Analyze the significance of these laws in promoting inclusive employment practices and ensuring the rights of women, migrant workers, and persons with disabilities. Describe the various forms of discrimination as interpreted and defined by the court. And last but not the least is identify and discuss the different equal employment opportunity laws in the Philippines and their application.
Unjust or prejudicial treatments means giving unfair treatment to someone not because of their abilities, but because of who they are. This could be based on gender, age, race, religion, or disability. For example, imagine a woman who applied for a manager position. She has the experience and skills, but the employer say we need a man for this position. That discrimination is not about her competence, but about her gender. Another scenario. A person with disability wants to work in an office. He can do the job well, but the company refused to hire him because they don't want the inconvenience. That's prejudicial treatment. This is why equal employment opportunity is really important. It exists to prevent unfair treatment like this. Equal employment opportunity versus affirmative action. Equal employment opportunity or EEO means everyone should get a fair chance when applying for a job. No one should be favored or left out because of their personal traits like gender, race, or age. For example, think of it like an exam in a class. Everyone gets the same paper, the same question, and the same amount of time. No one gets extra help and no one is held back. That fairness. Affirmative action. But here's the challenge. Even if everyone gets the same paper and exam, some students might have come from the school that didn't prepare them well. They already at a disadvantage before the test even came. That's where affirmative action come in to require employment to take steps to give advantage group a better chance to succeed. Two categories of people protected by EEO laws. Number 1. Protected classifications. These are the characteristics of the law protects from discrimination such as race, gender, age, religion, disability, and sexual orientation. For example, a company cannot reject someone just because they are older or because they are belong to a certain religion. If they do, they are breaking the law. Number 2. Protected groups. These are the actual people who belong to those classifications. The law ensures they are not treated unfairly because of those traits. For example, imagine a job that says only men under 30 years old can apply. That's a violation. It's discrimination against women and older applicants. The law protects this group to make sure they have equal opportunity if they qualify.
Imagine a world where people with disabilities are given equal chances at work and where no one feels unsafe or harassed in their school or workplace. That's exactly what these two important laws aim to protect: the Magna Carta for Disabled Persons and the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act of 1995. Let's begin with the Magna Carta for Disabled Persons, officially known as Republic Act No. 7277. Republic Act number 7277 is an act providing for the rehabilitation, self-development, and self-reliance of disabled persons and their integration into the mainstream of society and for other purposes. This law was enacted by the Congress of the Philippines and was signed into law by President Corazon C. Aquino on May 27, 1992. Through this act, the government formally recognized the rights and equal opportunities of persons with disabilities.
Later on, Republic Act number 9442 was passed as a support to Republic Act number 7277. It strengthens the Magna Carta for disabled persons by granting additional privileges and incentives, such as discounts on goods and services, and further protection against ridicule and discrimination. Now that we know what Republic Act number 7277 is about, let's take a closer look at one of its most important parts, the rights and privileges granted to persons with disabilities. These provisions are designed to make sure that persons with disabilities are not only protected by law, but also given real opportunities to participate fully in work, education, and community life. Rights and privileges of disabled persons. Section 5. Equal opportunity for employment. Disabled persons must not be denied employment if they qualify. They should get the same compensation, privileges, benefits, fringe benefits, incentives, or allowances. 5% of all casual, emergency, and contractual positions in the Department of Social Welfare and Development, Health, Education, Culture, Sports, and other government agencies, offices, or corporations engaged in social development shall be reserved for disabled persons. Section 5 simply means that if a person with disability is qualified, they must be given the same opportunity as anyone else. In other words, equal means equal. The same job opportunity, the same pay, and the same benefits. For example, if a blind person qualifies as a call center agent, the company must hire and pay them equally, just like other employees. Section 6. Sheltered employment. If a disabled person can find a job in regular companies, the government must help by creating sheltered jobs, safe, adjusted workplaces. Example, a blind who can find any open employment may be given work in government-supported workshop producing handicrafts. Section 7. Apprenticeship. Disabled persons can work as apprentices or learners if their disability doesn't stop them from performing the job. If they do well, they can be hired as regular employees. An example of this is a person with one arm can train as computer encoder. If they perform well, the company should consider them for regular hiring. Section 8. Incentives for employers. A. Encourages private companies to employ disabled persons. Adequate incentives shall be provided to private entities which employ disabled persons. Companies that hire disabled persons get tax deductions. B. Employers can deduct 25% of wages paid to disabled persons from their taxable income. Let's say I'm the employer. As a company, I need to pay my employees their salaries, and I also need to pay taxes to the government. Now, if I hire a person with disability, the law gives me an incentive. 25% of the wages I pay to that person with disability employee can be deducted from the total taxes my company needs to pay. For example, if I pay my employee with disability at 20,000 as salary, then 25% of that, which is 5,000, can be deducted from the taxes I owe to the government. Of course, this only works if it's proven and certified by the Department of Labor and Employment or DOLE and the Department of Health DOH that the person I hired really is a person with disability working in my company. It is considered a win-win situation
because as an employer, I am able to provide a person with disability a job opportunity, while at the same time, I receive an incentive from the government in the form of tax deductions. C. Companies that install or improve facilities for person with disability accessibility can deduct 50% of the cost from their taxable income. However, does not apply to improvements or modification of facilities required under the Batas Pambansa bilang 344. Example, if a company improves facilities for persons with disabilities, like installing special software or elevators, 50% of the cost can be deducted from its taxes. But this does not include ramps, rails, or bathrooms since those are already required under Batas Pambansa bilang 344. Section 9, Vocational Rehabilitation. The government must give training to disabled persons to improve skills so they can compete in the labor market. Example, a training program for persons with speech impairments to learn call center back office jobs. Department of Labor and Employment or DOLE and Department of Social Welfare and Development or DSWD are responsible here. Section 10, Vocational Guidance and Counseling. The Department of Social Welfare and Development or DSWD must provide career guidance and counseling to help disabled persons secure and keep jobs. They are responsible for assisting persons with disabilities in selecting jobs that match their skills and in providing the necessary guidance and training to help them succeed. Section 11, Implementing Rules and Regulations. The Department of Labor and Employment, DOLE, Department of Social Welfare and Development, DSWD, and National Council for the Welfare of Disabled Persons or NCWDP promulgate the rules and regulations necessary to implement the provisions under this chapter. They are the ones who make the rules to ensure that this law is carried out properly. So that's how Republic Act 7277 protects the rights and privileges of persons with disabilities. But the protection doesn't stop there. We also need to make sure people feel safe from abuse in schools, workplaces, and training. That's where the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act of 1995 comes in. The Anti-Sexual Harassment Act of 1995, or Republic Act No. 7877, was signed by President Fidel V. Ramos on February 14, 1995. It was made because of the rising cases of sexual harassment in workplaces and schools during the 90s. Section 2 declares that all forms of sexual harassment in employment, education, or training are unlawful. Section 3 defines sexual harassment as a request for sexual favor, accepted or not, made by someone in authority, employer, teacher, manager, etc. over another person. It is considered harassment when it affects rights, privileges, or opportunities. Section 4 states that anyone who commits, induces, or cooperates in sexual harassment is liable or legally responsible. Employers, heads of offices, or schools must prevent, investigate, and resolve cases by setting up a committee on decorum and investigation. Failure to act when informed of harassment also makes them accountable. There are two types of sexual harassment. We have quid pro quo, happens when a boss or authority demands sexual favors in exchange for employment or benefits. Example is an employer saying this to his employee. If you sleep with me, you'll get a promotion. Hostile environment happens when actions, words, or behaviors like insults, swearing, nude pictures, vulgar jokes create an offensive, unfriendly, or unsafe workplace. Example is employees making vulgar jokes, showing nude pictures, or constantly insulting a female coworker.
Wage rationalization while the Filipino public was focused on the failure of the Senate to proceed with Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial on the last day of 19th Congress. The labor sector suffered its own painful loss in the legislature. After 2 years of the labor sector's lobbying efforts, Congress failed to push forward what would have been the first across and the board legislated wage hike of minimum wage earners since 1989. Women in Development and Nation Building Act, 1992, Philippines, to promote the integration of women as full and equal partners of men in development and nation building, ensuring equal rights, opportunities, and participation in all aspects of society. Republic Act 7192, or the Women in Development and Nation Building Act of 1992, opened the Philippine Military Academy. The first batch graduated in 1997 in Baguio City, when the Philippine Military Academy, PNP in short, announced earlier this week the women cadets dominate the top 10 of the 2017 graduating class. The public welcomed it as a fitting celebration of International Women's Day. The PMA graduation on Saturday, March 11, was indeed a women's affair. The valedictorian of the Salakniv class is Robbie Martinez. She is joined by 7 other females on the top 10. In addition, the award is the best in Migrant Workers and Overseas Filipinos Act 1995, Philippines, to institute and state policy of providing full protection to the rights and welfare of overseas Filipino workers, OFWs especially, female domestic workers, by ensuring gender-sensitive policies, promoting full and equal employment opportunities, and recognizing both their contribution and vulnerability. The Migrant Workers and Overseas Filipinos, an act to institute the policies of overseas employment and establish a higher standard of protection and promotion of the welfare of migrant workers, their families and overseas Filipinos, in distress and for other purposes. Magna Carta for Public Health Workers Act 1992, Philippines. The Magna Carta for Public Health Workers, Republic Act No. 7305, is the significant law in the Philippines that promotes and improves the social, economic, and professional well-being of public health workers. It aims to develop their skills, ensure fair compensation and benefits, and encourage them to remain in government service. The Carta purposes of this act: health workers shall mean all persons who are engaged in health and health-related work, and all persons employed in all hospitals, sanitaria, health infirmaries, health centers, rural health units, barangay health station, clinics, and other health-related establishments owned and operated by the government or its political subdivisions, with original charters, and shall include medical, allied, health professional, administrative, and support personnel, employed regardless of their employment status.
You're calling me? Why? Oh, you have a question. Okay. Let me hear it. I see. So, do you want to know about Local Government Code 1991, right? Well, I can give you some knowledge about that. Come. Oh, there you are. Now let's talk about the Local Government Code of 1991. The Local Government Code of 1991, or Republic Act No. 7160, is a law in the Philippines that was signed on October 10, 1991 and took effect on January 1, 1992. The state shall provide for more responsive and accountable local government structure instituted through a system of decentralization, whereby local government units shall be given more powers, authority, and responsibilities, and resources. It was created to decentralize the government, meaning many functions that used to be controlled by the national government were transferred or devolved to LGUs. This allows local leaders like governors, mayors, and barangay captains to make decisions that directly affect their communities. Hey, you again? What do you want? I can give you some knowledge about equality in education. Let's talk about it. My bad. Now, let's talk about equality in education. Example. The Alternative Learning System, or ALS, is a parallel learning system in the Philippines that provides opportunities for out-of-school youth and adult or OSHA learners to develop basic and functional literacy skills and to access equivalent pathways to complete basic education. The Alternative Learning System, or ALS, gives out-of-school youth and adults a chance to continue learning in ways that fit their schedule and situation. Its goal is to help them improve their knowledge and lives. We're gonna talk about support in private school. Pasig City, March 18, 2022, the Department of Education has created a private education office at the DepEd Central Office to provide support to private education institutions. With the establishment of the PEO, DepEd can now fully exercise its supervisory and regulatory functions and continue to implement programs of assistance to schools, learners, teachers, and other personnel in private education. In short, the Private Education Office, or PEO, was set up by DepEd to guide private schools, ensure standards are met, and give support to their students. Just like the vouchers, if you are from public schools, you can easily enter any private school, and it's either you pay less or you pay none. Only miscellaneous fee. And that's all.
Hello, Mr. Kabudol. My name is Alexis P. Carilla, and we're going to talk about General Appropriations Act of 1995 and Labor Code of the Philippines, 1974. The General Appropriations Act of 1995 ensures that government agencies like DOLE have the necessary budget to implement labor policies. For example, when workers are illegally dismissed under Article 279 of the Labor Code, DOLE is responsible for investigating and resolving the complaint. Without funding from the GAA, enforcement of labor protections such as those in Article 278 to 285 wouldn't be possible. This law makes sure labor laws are not just written but actually applied. And then the Labor Code of the Philippines protects the rights of workers by setting standards for employment such as job security, fair termination, probationary periods, and resignation rules. It ensures that all businesses follow their labor practices. Key articles from the code guarantee that workers cannot be dismissed without valid cause and have the right to due process and proper compensation. Based on the case study, Articles 278 to 285 is Article 278, all types of businesses are covered. Article 279, regular employees can be dismissed without valid cause. Article 280 defines when employment is considered regular. Article 281 limits probationary employment to 6 months. And Article 283 allows termination due to closure or redundancy with proper notice. And then Article 284 permits termination if the employee has a serious illness. And then the last one is the Article 285, employees may resign with 30 days notice. This law ensures workers are protected and employers are accountable. forming the backbone of the fair labor practices in our country.
Their summary. First, employment discrimination is defined as the unjust or prejudicial treatment of individuals. This usually happens when people are treated unfairly because of their age, race, gender, religion, or other differences. Next, during recruitment, companies are required by law to avoid discrimination. Firms must be cautious not to violate anti-discrimination laws and instead give all applicants a fair chance for employment. We also have the Equal Employment Opportunity or EEO laws. These protect two categories of people. Protected classifications, which cover groups such as race, age, sex, religion, national origin, skin color, and disability. And protected subcategories, which are groups within those classifications. For example, black, white, and brown are subcategories under skin color. Moving on, affirmative action goes a step further than EEO. It requires employers to take proactive measures in ensuring fair chances for members of protected groups. The goal is to remove the negative effects of past discrimination, especially in recruitment and selection. In the Philippines, we also have Republic Act number 7277, which is the Magna Carta for disabled persons. This law promotes the rehabilitation, self-reliance, and integration of persons with disabilities into mainstream society. Lastly, the chapter discusses sexual harassment in the workplace. It can happen in two ways. Quid pro quo, which occurs when a manager or superior demands sexual favors in exchange for employment benefits. And the hostile environment, where unsolicited criticisms or inappropriate actions create a workplace that is offensive or disrespectful to the employee. That concludes the chapter summary. Thank you.
Now, let's proceed to the study and discussion question to apply what we've learned. Question number 1. Suppose you are an HR manager, you were requested by the company CEO to write a policy manual on sexual harassment. What provision will you include, and how should they be executed? A company's sexual harassment policy must define the offense, set clear reporting and investigation procedures, provide protection and sanction, and promote awareness to ensure a safe workplace.
I will implement sexual harassment policies. Provisions: no tolerance for sexual harassment, covers all employees, clients, and visitors. Clear definitions, um, easy reporting system, confidential and fair investigations. And for the executions, distribute and explain to all employees, post in visible areas or online platform like Facebook and etc. And then provide confidential reporting channels. And for the last one is train managers and review policy regularly.
Okay, as an HR, the provisions I'll include are clear definition of sexual harassment, like quid pro quo and hostile environment. And the next one is strict prohibition of sexual harassment in employment, education, or training. Procedures for reporting, investigating, resolving, and penalizing cases. Creation of a committee on decorum and investigation. Protection of complainants from retaliation. For execution, I will disseminate policy to all employees, conduct regular orientation and training, ensure accessible reporting channels, and enforce penalties consistently and fairly.
Question number 2. Identify and comprehensively describe the primary discrimination laws in the Philippines.
The Philippines has several laws and legal provisions that address of prohibit various forms of discrimination, particularly in the workplace. While a single comprehensive anti-discrimination law covering all protected classes does not exist, the country's legal framework provides specific protections through different status.
The primary discrimination laws in the Philippines include the Labor Code, which protects workers from unfair treatment, Republic Act 7277, Magna Carta for Disabled Persons, which safeguards the rights of people with disabilities, and the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act of 1995, which prevents abuse in the workplace.
The primary discrimination laws in the Philippines includes the 1987 Constitution, which is guarantees equal rights, and RA 6725, no discrimination against women, and RA 7277 protects persons with disabilities. And for the last one is RA 1011, no age
Now, let's
discrimination.
proceed to case exercise number 1.
Religious traditions, Skyrocket Hotel aims to be a customer-friendly organization. Its management has consistently stressed to its employees the need to show a delightful and positive attitude and behavior towards the customers, as well as to delightfully abide by the company imposed standards of dress.
Hannah Margaret is an employee of Skyrocket Hotel and has been assigned to the customer service unit for 3 months from the day she was hired. Hannah Margaret is a Muslim and was very vocal in saying that she is supposed to wear a hijab in compliance with religious observance. When asked about the specific rule on wearing the hijab, she immediately replied, "The hijab is about observing modesty, so it is required to wear all the time."
However, since her first day on the job, Hannah Margaret has worn the hijab only at intervals. This caught the attention of management. She was asked why she does not wear the hijab every day, and her response was, "I just don't feel like wearing it on some days." As a consequence, Hannah Margaret was prohibited from wearing it because it because of this, she has contested the point of management, asserting that the religious practice needs to be accommodated.
Question number 1. If you are the HR manager and had to decide this case for the EEO, how would you settle the filter charge? On what legal grounds will you base your decision?
As an HR manager, settling an equal employment opportunity commissions like EEOC charging requires a careful and methodical approach, and the final decision must be based on solid legal grounds. The specific legal grounds depend the detail of the case, but the primary laws to consider the title of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Age Discrimination in Employment Act, ADEA, and the Americans with Disabilities.
Hindi ako kasi hindi maayos yung sagot ko dyan ngayon. Number 2 na lang ako.
Side with Hannah Margaret under equal employment opportunity principles, just like what Ate Cristel said, religion is a protected classification. The hotel should allow her to wear hijab when she chooses, unless it causes undue hardships to operations.
Question number 2. Should Skyrocket Hotel be compelled to accommodate Hannah Margaret request? Justify your answer.
Yes, Skyrocket Hotel should accommodate her request because wearing a hijab or head covering is part of her religious belief and identity. Allowing it does not harm the business or its operations.
For me, yes, the hotel should accommodate Hannah's request to wear hijab because religious freedom and workplace equality demand respect for sincerely held religious practices.
Yes, employers must respect religious practices as part of equal employment opportunity. Denying her hijab use is discriminatory unless it directly affects safety or essential job duties.
Number 3. Should the management of Skyrocket Hotel be allowed to ask Hannah Margaret when she must keep her head covered and what permissible headwear is? Explain it.
Yes, the management can ask Hannah what type of head covering she needs to wear so they can understand her request better. However, they must allow her to use permissible religious headwear as long as it does not interfere with safety rules or company operations. This shows respect for her beliefs while maintaining professional standards in the workplace.
Go.
Yes, but only in a respectful and limited way, because the hotel may ask for clarification about the religious requirements. And this is to ensure safety, uniform compliance, and guest service standards. This is Alexis.
This is Patrick.
This is Rosella May. This is Joy.